Hello, my name's Kathy Bissell. Welcome to the Golf Show 2.0. This week we have a guest who's an expert in both golf and stats in golf. And he has some ideas for stats that I don't think very many people have ever heard of, including me. And I've heard of most stuff in golf. Gary, why don't you get him started? You recently wrote about him.
Yeah, we've got Scott Fawcett of Decade, which is a shot tracking app that is actually way more than that. But the whole concept, the whole purpose of an app like this is to help you get better at golf through understanding your data, how to use it. And Scott's also pretty good in the course management area, where a lot of guys think they're pretty good until they talk to Scott and realize they're stupid. I just said that. I think a lot of people overrate their skills. Anyways, Scott was a good player, made it to the Corn Ferry. Tell us briefly how you got from player into Decade, which is there's so much to Decade, it's hard to cover it all.
It's interesting. Even though I've got a few math degrees, when I played professional golf, I never really thought about golf as a math game. And whenever I quit playing professionally in 2002, I started playing a lot of poker. And actually, Chris Como and I met in an illegal underground poker room back in 2006, which is
I'd like
really
to make
funny.
a citizen's arrest right now. Then
It's funny because Chris used to actually get mad at me when I would say that. I was like, people love that part of the story, man. Trust me, that's a good thing.
That's part so far.
Yeah, now he finally leans into it. But when I started playing a lot of poker, I just started realizing the similarities between poker of if you go on tilt when you start getting mad in poker versus obviously when you get mad in golf, and just really just odds and expectation of a game. And so I started thinking about golf and playing a lot better golf, honestly, just by thinking of it that way. And then when ShotLink data started coming out in 2010, I wrote an online blog actually for an online poker forum that was just titled "Is Drive for Show, Putt for Dough Really True?" And you can see in there me and another couple guys who now are like the director of analytics for the Chiefs and the Raptors, and you can see us trying to figure out some problems together. And then once they released the entire strokes gained catalog, I realized between that and TrackMan data, I could basically solve course management. So I just kind of started noodling around on an idea. And then luckily for me, Will Zalatoris was a junior golfer at my home course. And so I caddied for him in the Texas Amateur when he was ranked 3,300 in the world at the time. And I caddied for him the Texas Am in 2014, and he won by 4. And then I caddied for him the next month at the U.S. Junior, and he won. And conveniently, the SMU golf coach was at SMU when I played at Texas A&M. And he asked me, he's like, seems like you're doing something with strategy with Will. I've got this player that's really good named Bryson DeChambeau, but I can't get him to stop firing at flags. Could you teach this to him? So I taught it to him in February of 2015, right before he won the NCAAs and U.S. Amateur. So it's pretty convenient to have your first two students be Zalatoris and DeChambeau. But it also goes to show what we've historically thought of course management as just kind of being common sense, or people give me a hard time saying what I teach is common sense. And I'm like, it is once I explained it to you, but it's definitely just not how our brains work. And so it's been a lot of fun over the last 10, 12 years to get involved in the game again.
But you'd rather be playing, of course, but I think you found a more important niche.
Can you give an example of what you're trying to teach people to do strategically on the golf course based on the way they're playing versus what they were doing before?
Well, I'm pretty much the guy that has led the charge of hitting the ball as far as you possibly can. So if everyone hates that part of the game, I'm probably the guy you hate the most. So I'm the guy that told Bryson to do what he did. And it's just funny because if there's any one thing I think it's funny that we needed data to illustrate, it's that you should hit the ball as far as you possibly can. I hit the ball further than everyone back when I was playing in my 20s. And the amount of times that I would drop back to a 2-iron or 3-wood, just say like, I can hit my 3-wood past everyone anyways too. So, and it's like, well, yeah, and you can hit your driver 30 past everyone. That is even better. And it's just funny. So between hitting driver off the tee, and then I think that this is a subtle shift in mindset, but the idea that Tiger and Nicklaus and a lot of guys talk about, you've got to miss it in the right spots. I don't think that's actually the right question. The real question is, how much do I not want to be short-sighted? And then we've all got this like shotgun blast shot pattern. And it's not like we have an hourglass shaped shot pattern where we either hit it close to the hole or we hit it in the right place to miss it. We've got this shot pattern we're just moving around. But by deciding how much I don't want to be short-sided, is it a lake? Is it an easy up and down? That kind of, by definition, puts your misses in the right place. And so those are the two, and then honestly, the last one would be in putting, that we have to be comfortable leaving a lot of putts short in order to optimize our strokes to hole out, which is technically what we're trying to do in golf. I mean, Dave Pells and the other people said, we want to get putts 17 inches past the hole, and it's really depends on, I mean, it really depends on how long the putt is. But once you start getting outside of 15 feet, you've got to be comfortable leaving putts short. So Brad Faxon is a concrete example. He left 16% of his putts short from 16 to 20 feet. And I just don't, that's 1 in 6. I just don't think most people would think that's possible. But we've got this speed profile, and if you don't leave any short, you're going to be hitting the majority of your putts too hard. They're going to lip out, and you're going to have 4 and 5 footers coming back where you're going to 3-putt. So if you take that same speed window, if you use my nose as the hole, if we take that same speed profile and shift it to where you're leaving 20-25% short, you've made the hole really big for the majority of your shots, and you've also made your average second putt significantly shorter, and that's really what we try to do in golf.
One of the big tenets of Decade is you came up with something you call the Tiger 5, which is
Tiger came up with that.
5 things not to do. These are the keys to playing better and managing your game better. Why don't you give us a quick rundown on the Tiger 5?
Well, we all think after every single round of golf we play, we all think we should have shot lower. Even my best professional round of 10 under, I went to the Outback Steakhouse that night and complained to my friends at all the dumb stuff I did in the last 6 holes to par the last 6 holes. Like, we're all insane. So Tiger figured out.
Well, you were 10 under through 12 holes?
The funny part is I shot 67 in the first round with a double and a triple. Didn't sleep the whole night. I was in the late early wave. Did not sleep the whole night. All I did was sit there and steam, and then went out and birdied the first 7, lipped out on 8 and 9, and birdied 10, 11, and 12. I'm standing on 13T like I haven't slept in 36 hours. Maybe that's the key. But anyway,
that's the secret. No sleep.
Well,
no sleep.
I agree with your friends. That really is a disappointing 10 under. I'm sorry.
But again, I parred the last 6 holes, and I was just like, I can't believe I didn't birdie this par 5. And they're like,
it's never enough.
Like, stop. But so
golfers and gamblers are the same. It's never enough. A guy can be at a dog track. He can win the pick 6, and he gets 88,000. And what's the first thing he says? Every other time the pick 6 cashes, it's at least 125 grand.
Yeah.
It's never enough. And when you lose, it was too much. But unless it goes on the hole, it's never close enough. Anyways,
we're all insane.
Tiger 5.
Back to your dinner.
The Tiger 5. Tiger basically figured out bogeys on par 5s, doubles, 3-putts. Tiger technically tracked bogey with 9-iron or less. In order to quantify the data in ShotLink, we had to turn that into bogeys inside 150. And then Tiger tracked what he called blown easy saves, which is subjective to his opinion. So for my app and amateurs, I turned that into 2 chips. And so what I like to say is if you finish around and think you should have shot lower and it's not one of those 5 things, you're pretty much kidding yourself. But also then when you play a round of golf, take a little breather, get less mad and frustrated than you are, and then go through your round and think of those 5 things. And, players with teens, handicaps, maybe we're just trying to get a general idea. But as you're trying to get closer to low single digits and scratch, those 5 things are the ones that we want to really be scoping in on and seeing, was there anything strategically or mentally I could have done different there? Right. Or was it just bad golf, which is certainly possible. Looking back at it, I think that, when I would make a bogey from inside 150 yards, I thought that in order to avoid that, I just needed to get better at golf. It never dawned on me there might be something strategic I could have done differently. And I do believe that's what Steve Williams did for Tiger when he got hired in the 99 season, because it took him a couple of weeks of getting used to each other. And I do believe that Steve probably after about 3 or 4 events was like, mate, you are making so many stupid bogeys. It's insane. The birdies are going to come, because just overnight it basically stopped like a light switch flipped off. He just stopped making bogeys inside 150, which people say, well, maybe got better. I'm like, overnight? Really, the only way that can be explained is strategically. He changed something, and I think that he owes that all pretty much to Steve Williams.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So,
you found the secret of golf, which I tell people all the time, is if you don't make bogeys, you never shoot a bad score.
Yeah.
Well, it's very similar. It's honestly Tiger and Scotty Scheffler's first few years on tour closely mirror each other. They were both top 5 in birdies. So if you can make that many birdies year over year, it shows you can control your golf ball. But then they both were in the 40s and 50s in bogey avoidance, making bogey 15 or 16% of the time. When you drop that down to 10 or 11%, it's like 3/4 of a shot. So again, I think that Tiger owes Steve Williams a lot of credit on that, but it literally the same thing happened with Scotty Scheffler when he hired Ted Scott, who I worked with for 5 years while he was with Bubba. I told Ted, this guy makes a lot of birdies, but he's making too many bogeys. You know how to clean that up. Just get him to buy in. And again, overnight, he went from 15, 16% down to 10 and 11%. I mean, just identical numbers to Tiger. And again, it's just the rest is history. And that's the same thing, too, as your scoring average improves throughout the 70s. So from 79 to 76, 80+% of your improvement in scores from avoiding bogeys, not more birdies. And it's that same way all the way. You would think that as you get lower in the 70s, I've got to start making more birdies. It's like you are, but still it's 2 to 1. Your score is improving by making fewer bogeys than more birdies.
Yeah. How many times have you seen guys, and my son was guilty of this because he was a big hitter like yourself, because you can reach a par 5 and 2 with maybe a 3-wood or something, you go for the green and you miss the green in a bad spot where now you can't get up and down for birdie. So how does Decade resolve what to do on par 5s when maybe you can get home?
You want to be playing those second shots really aggressive. Those are the few reachable par 5s and drivable par 4s are the 2 places in golf where aggression gets rewarded with more birdies, but you don't offset it typically by making more bogeys to just completely. So like on a par 4 and a second shot with a 7-iron, if I play really aggressive, I may make a couple more birdies, not really, but I'm going to give all of them away for sure with more bogeys. The key to par 5s is let's pretend the pin is on the left, and your shot pattern with a 3 was going to be 50 or 60 yards wide. So we aim that maybe right center of the green, again, depending on the hazards, a bunch of other caveats, but still you're going to miss the green left, and you're going to be in a bad spot. The key to scoring is when you're out of position, you want to think which Tiger 5's in play. So in that scenario, bogey on a par 5 is, and 2 chips. When you're out of position, your first goal is to avoid the Tiger 5, and at worst case scenario, don't do worse than the Tiger 5 that's in play. And that's what I try to get my players, again, when they're out of the fairway at 170, whatever it is, think of which one of those 5 things is in play, and then my goal is to try to avoid that with everything I can. So if we hit it in the trees on a par 5, par 5 bogeys in play, doubles in play, like get this thing. I get it, it's a par 5, but we've got to remove our attachment to score and our emotional attachment to this is a birdie hole, and just make sure that we get back in play, get that par, worst case scenario. It's interesting. I worked this week for the first time with a Corn Ferry Tour player named Cole Sherwood, and he shot 500 days in 9th place, and he had a bogey on a par 5 his 10th hole. And I'm definitely curious to see what happened there. Like, how did you make that bogey? Because sometimes you hit it in the water off the tee, or you just get it in a really bad spot, like it happens. But I'm definitely curious. I'm not going to nitpick him. He's in the top 10 after our first round together, but I'm definitely curious how he made a 6 on a par 5.
For sure. And so anybody who can hit it far enough to be on the Corn Ferry Tour can hit it far enough to be on any tour. So what bad decision did he make? And
most likely.
Sometimes it's bad luck, but usually it's a bad decision.
Is anybody left in golf that's not hitting it 315 yards?
No. I mean, it's just, again, there is part of me that feels a little bit bad about how much I've been touting distance for the last 10 years, because I do agree, I think it's really interesting and entertaining watching Bryson do what he's doing, but if you've got 144 guys out there doing it, which is what it will ultimately be, you're just not going to play on the PGA Tour successfully with less than 175 ball speed. The other thing that I will say, though, is people incorrectly felt like distance was just going to compound to infinity. I said all along that I think 190 or 195 ball speed is about as far as you can hit it and still play the game of golf. And Bryson was in that low 190s and hitting it really straight. But even still, like if you back it off to 185 or 7 and you've got optimal launch, optimal spin and everything, it's just not worth that much more to get it into the 190s. And again, I think those are silly numbers to even be throwing around so cavalier, but I do think that 185, 87 ball speed is probably optimal for playing the game.
What do your statistics mean for the 15 handicapper? What should that player think about in terms of what they need to do when they go out to the golf course? Because they're playing a different game than you are.
The 15 needs to do a few things. First and foremost, they need to know which shape the driver's going to do. Double crosses are what make the game impossible. So if you're trying to play a fade and you hit a hook, that's what makes the game really hard. And so you will see 95% of guys on the PGA Tour now play the exact same shot every single time with driver.
Yeah, because they know where it's going.
Very few try to work it both ways. And what's interesting about it is the driver is the only club in the bag that when you're getting fit for it, you are just hitting your stock shot over and over and over again. The driver cannot be optimal for both shapes. And that was kind of what I thought my final trump card was going to be in this argument that I've been having for 10 years. Like, if it's fit for a fade, like historically draws went further than fades before ball and club fitting, simply because they spun less, which made them closer to optimal. Now that we can fit ball and shaft and driver, it's just shape is irrelevant because you're trying to get 14 degrees at 2200 RPM, no matter which shape it is, which can be done. But if I take that driver that was fit for me for a fade and I try to draw it, spin rates are going to drop by about 500 RPM, and it's just going to be a knuckleball. It can kind of go anywhere. The other side of that is if it's fit for a draw with the exact same 14 degrees, 2200, if I try to fade that one, it's going to be a 2700 or 3000 RPM spinny flare. And it's funny because when guys say, you know what, I tried fading it for a week, I just didn't like how it came off the face. And I'm like, well, did you get another driver? Because that driver's not fit for it. And so that's, again, I really thought that was going to be what finally won the argument was you can't hit the club both ways. I mean, not optimally.
Yeah, I haven't heard anybody say that. I think that's genius.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah, so circling back to your actual question about the 15 handicap, you got to know which way the ball is shaping off the tee.
Okay.
Obviously, with iron play, your 15 doesn't have a whole lot of control over the golf ball. And the challenge with giving generic advice of just try to hit the green is number 18 at St. Andrews, the green is 52 yards wide.
Right.
Number 10 at Pebble Beach, the green is 17 yards wide. Yeah. Middle of the green is completely different information on those two. Golf is the only sport that's not played on a uniform field of competition, like a football field, a soccer field, a tennis court. They're all the same. So you can give kind of generic advice in those scenarios, but golf, it just doesn't work that way. So the 15, yes, probably just try to hit the green with a few caveats.
That's good advice, though. Don't be going for the flag if it's tucked in a corner. Go for the middle of the green.
And most importantly, you're still going to hit shots close. It's the funniest thing about it is we and announcers specifically on TV act like wherever the ball finished up is where they were trying to hit it. So you'll see a guy with a pin tucked by a lake and they stuff it on Sunday, and the announcer's like, that's just total command and total confidence. Like, no, he probably pulled that. Sean Martin, the PGA Tour staff writer, when Zalatoris hit a hole-in-one in the U.S. Open at Winged Foot in 2020, he hit a hole-in-one, and Sean Martin tweeted, Zalatoris just hit a hole-in-one in the U.S. Open, and the only thing Fawcett's going to want to say is the hole wasn't his target. And I was like, it probably wasn't. So I sent Will a text that just like, what was your target? And he replied, 7 right. So I retweeted Sean with a picture of that text, just like, it's important to know, like, you still will make hole-in-ones and whatever. But we really want to hit a lot of greens in regulation. Now moving on to the short game, stop trying to get so fancy. Just get yourself a solid little motion that you can get the ball on the green every time. There are so many 2 chips. It's honestly painful how many times we just missed the green. And I remember when I was a junior golfer and I would be over there at the chipping green, and I really was just trying to hit the green every time. And obviously, as your skills improve, great, start adding some more difficult shots. But first and foremost, you need to own that simple shot. And then in putting, just becoming a master at 20 to 40-foot lag putts, which, you know, most people don't really go out and practice their speed, but you want to practice your speed into like a 10% window. So from 10 to 20 feet, you're trying to roll it into like a 2-foot distance control circle. From 20 to 30 feet, it becomes like 3 feet. And what you'll realize is you'll get really good at that pretty quick. And then again, once you're comfortable with leaving putts short, instead of having from 20 to 30 foot, this 3-foot window to roll it into, if you're leaving half your putt short, you've got a 6-foot window to roll it into. Every time when I'm playing Wolf and someone's got a 12-foot putt and his partner says, hey, next one's good. I'm like, awesome. You are about to jam this thing 5 feet by, and there's no chance it's going in at that speed. And then they do that, and they're like, at least I got it there. I'm like, yep, at least you got it there. Thanks for saving me $20. It's just,
Well, you said the optimum word about a 15 about on chipping and putting practice. They, if they even practice putting, their idea probably is I spent 5 extra minutes before I played. And chipping, they don't practice chipping because chipping is boring for the most part. And honestly, unless you're at a decent club, most places don't even have a chipping green. And if you want to get yelled at a public course, try chipping on the putting green, and the guy in the PA, hey, no chipping on the putting green. You don't even have a place to do it if you wanted to, but most people don't want to. They don't realize how important it is not only to get on in one chip, but you got to chip it to 6 feet, which is a length you might be able to make the putt from to save. So.
Well, it's really interesting because the advice that I give to a 15 is the same advice I give to myself as a +2 or 3. Know which way the driver's going to fall. Understand, at my level at least, how to pick the proper target that does take the length of the shot and the surrounding hazards into play. I want to get really good at the simple chip shots, the Tiger 5, no blown easy saves. I want to get really good at that. If I wanted to get back to +5 or 6, yeah, I need to learn how to hit a flop shot better. My sand game needs to not be terrible. Yes, I would need to work on that. We all have jobs and time and kid constraints and everything else. So I just want to get good at the easy chip shots. If I'm having 3 flop shots around, I probably need to work on my iron game more than I need to work on that flop shot. And then I need to be really confident that I can get down in 2 every time from 20 to 40 feet, because the really interesting thing is you start tracking your stats is just how consistently you are somewhere between 20 and 40 feet. You don't hit it outside of 40 feet that often because you probably didn't hit the green if you're longer than that. And you don't hit it inside of 20 feet mainly because golf is really hard. You are just living between 20 and 40 feet. And once you practice that length putt a lot, like I say, it's not easy, but it's a lot easier than you think to get really good from that distance. And then your 3 putts just evaporate. Circling back to the Tiger 5, that's really how we do it.
Yeah.
I don't know how good my sand play has to be, and granted, it's a function of what course you play at. If I played at Scioto, I probably would average 5 sand shots around, but I look at my stats. I can keep basic ones. I average about 1 sand shot per round. So no matter how good I get, how much am I really going to save? I mean, I was like 40% or 38%. So
yeah. If Scioto's got a lot of bunkers, I'm in trouble. That's where the U.S. Senior Open is next year that I'm hoping to qualify for. So I have to work on my bunker game a little bit.
Yeah, there's a lot of bunkers, and they put them all in the right place, and the greens are not flat.
I have a cute story about practice. I don't remember what it was the story I was doing, but I was supposed to talk to Jose Maria Olazabal, and he's kind of shy. So he said, I'll be at this is at Sawgrass Players Club. And so he said he'd be on the far practice chipping green at the back of the range after his round, and I should find him out there. So that's what I did. And I watched him chip 2 bags of balls, 3 bags of balls. And I just said to him, now I know why you're so good at this part of your short game. And he goes, he's no secret. He's practice. It was very cute.
I mean, it's not rocket science. Yeah.
I was a sports writer at the Milwaukee Journal and covered golf for a number of years in the 80s. And Andy North was our state golfer, and I knew him pretty well. And I stood at the Memorial one year at Muirfield Village, and he was just, messing around in the practice bunker. And I watched him go through sand wedge, hitting bunker shots around the green, sand wedge through 3-iron. And his 3-iron flop shots were pretty darn good. So that was why he won 2 U.S. Opens. He could get it up and down from anywhere. But look, Scott, there's so much on your app. Tell people how they can find it, how they put their data in, and tell them about some of the other things you get in Decade, because you have access to your whole video library and all the stuff. There's a lot more than just here's your numbers. You've got much more.
we've been confused too much as being a stats app, and we do offer
Yeah.
statistics, obviously, but the real point of Decade is to teach you course management. So when you buy the app, there's 4 hours of tutorial content that takes you through how your scores actually improve, how to prepare for tournaments, approach shot, tee shot, short game, and putting strategy, like what it all means. Again, and it's just literally the seminar that I created. I mean, I built the first seminar for DeChambeau, and it's basically me just voicing over the exact same PowerPoint to teach the same stuff again that I've taught 60 guys on the PGA Tour at this point. So that's the first and foremost goal. Then you do start tracking your stats, and we've streamlined it now to where you're just tracking the Tiger 5 mistakes and your strokes gained putting. Strokes gained driving and approach have a number of flaws when you're using generic benchmarks. So I've kind of just moved away from those because I think we've lost sight of the fact that the point of statistics is to tell you what to work on over the last few years. Like, that's the point. I get it. It's neat to have all these touchy-feely numbers of strokes gained driving and approach and everything.
Right.
But without a daily adjustment like the PGA Tour has, the numbers can get really flawed and incorrect. So I actually didn't even include those two numbers in the Decade app for the first 4 years. And all of the Pac-12 coaches were going to go with one stats app, and they insisted on it. So I'm like, I'll include it, but I don't like it. Be perfectly honest, I kind of forgot about it for about 3 years until I started playing more leading into turning 50. And then when I was putting my own numbers in, I was like, these are just really dumb. Like, it's not right. So the Tiger 5 app, strokes gained putting works pretty good because it's just the starting length and expectation of your first putt and how many putts you hit. So I get it. Some greens are better, some are worse, some are more undulated, some are flat. But for the most part, it works pretty well. And then through combinations of greens and regulation, penalty rate off the tee, and then those Tiger 5, which includes 2 chips, I can start to tell you it's probably your tee shots, it's probably your irons, it's probably your short game, it's probably your putting. Like, I can kind of start to give you that information. But then what Decade does is it starts sending you custom content based on your Tiger 5 mistakes. So I'm helping you. Again, whenever I was playing in my 20s, I just thought I needed to get better, and I never once considered maybe something strategically could have done better. So I take my own tournament golf stupid mistakes and I just make content out of it. Like, hey, here's everything your fearless leader did dumb. And so when you're out there, like, hey, you bogeyed 2 par 5s this, in your last round. Here's just a little 3-minute video. Was it anything like this? Were you not being patient or disciplined? Did you try to get a little too much because you were short-sighted? It's just a bunch of different stuff to try to help you start learning from those mistakes rather than just crossing your fingers and hoping they magically disappear like I did. After that, we've got free yardage books, what we call driving targets, which is what allows you to take the satellite images of the course and start planning out your strategy before a tournament round. And then we've got different combines in there that Chris Zambri, who created them while he was the head coach at USC, he's now the head coach of the USGA national team. They're the exact combines he used to run on his teams and still does run on his teams as the USGA head coach. And some of them are just great. Like, we've got it's simulated putting, which is the average length of your 18 starting putts. So you can just go out there. If you're contemplating, you know what, I want to try a broomstick or cross-handed or whatever, rather than having to take a month to go play 5 or 6 rounds and get any information whatsoever, you can just go to your putting green and run 18 simulated rounds and just say, hey, did you putt better or worse with this? By giving you a consistent format of length of putts to be trying. So I really like that one. Most of the tour players that I work with just say that's their favorite thing on the planet to do. I mean, and I'm trying to think, there's just so much in the app. Over the last 10 years, we just keep on putting more and more features into it. The one that I really like, though, is that free yardage books. If you play any tournaments at all, I mean, Straka yardage books are works of art, but they're $60 or $70 a piece.
Yeah.
So we've built this mechanism where it just strips all the data out of the satellites and it just creates a very nice functional yardage book for free. And so what I was really trying to do is basically completely offset the cost of the app. And the amount of people that say, I've kept the app for 3 years just because of the free yardage books. You get junior golfers that play 10, 15, 20 events a year. It really, really helps offset that cost.
For sure. Yeah. Well, I'm sure
here's
there's
a tough
millions
one.
of people.
What's the single most memorable golf shot you've struck in your life and why?
single most memorable golf shot I've struck in my life, I guess it comes to a hole-in-one that I hit. I only have two, and it's funny because this one actually isn't even a hole-in-one at the end of the day. They took the first 10 winners on the Hooters Tour at the 11th event, and we were playing an alternate shot with a member of the Chamber of Commerce in Greenville, Alabama. And the guy that I got paired with had never touched a golf club before.
Oh, delightful.
And he won the shortest straw of everyone said he will be the first one eliminated. So we've got about 300 people on the first tee of this par 3 on number 1, and I'm hitting, and I hit a hole-in-one. So he's automatically on to number 2, which he didn't have to hit a shot. So it was fantastic. And then he got up and proceeded to whiff his tee shot on 2. I hit a solid one from there, and then he did something really bad again from there, and he did get eliminated. The first time he had to hit a shot, he did get eliminated.
Yeah.
The most memorable shot that I can remember, though, is Zalatoris on the 15th hole, 32nd hole, technically, of the U.S. Junior. Our opponent, which was Davis Riley, actually, had just hit it to 8 feet to go. He would have gotten back to 2 down with 4 to play, and we were 3 up with 5 to play, and then Will hold a 110-yard sand wedge that just one-hopped in the hole perfectly.
Wow.
To go 4 up, to go dormy, basically 4 up with 4 to go. And it was, it was just incredible.
That's the kind of stuff that keeps you coming back.
It really is. I mean, that's what, I don't know if you can see it very well. Now you can over there. Over here, that's what that poster is right there on the wall next to Buddy the Elf, where we've got our hands in the air. That's me and Will in the middle of the 32nd fairway.
I thought that was a body double for yourself there, Buddy the Elf. I guess not.
I bought it just to make my girls mad over Christmas because he says he's got like 20 different sayings he says whenever you walk by it, and I decided to leave it in my office all year.
Well, this is great stuff. Give people what's the name of the website so they can find you again?
Yeah.
DECADE.golf. We're finally trying to grow up as a company. So if you go to DECADE.golf, you will find everything you need to know. If you use the code DECADE Plus, just PLUS, it'll give you 20% off memberships, and love to have you check it out.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
I really learned a lot here. And
Perfect.
maybe Gary's game will be helped by this.
If I need some de-aging to really utilize Scott's information to its ultimate. I could have used it even 10 years ago, but yeah, it's great.
The amount of people that played mini tour golf that have told me, like, my God, if I knew this back in the day. And I do believe there is just some element of you happen to have the right mentor, you happen to have just something went the right brain as a junior golfer, and something just clicked for you at a young age. I do believe when I was playing professionally, players mainly peaked in their early 30s. And I do believe we thought you had to get out on tour and learn all the shots. Now that we know so much more about the brain, and then it finishes developing the executive function decision-making in your mid-20s, I do believe now at this point that you just had to get out, get a functioning brain, then get the experience, and then start playing your best golf in your early 30s. And now, I mean, what Stuart Sink said, in Hawaii last year, he's like, now you can just buy experience. You don't even need it anymore. And he was like, I'm not criticizing it. I subscribe to all the exact same materials these kids do, but these kids come out basically understanding how to play the game better than a 15-year veteran on the tour does, just because of the way they've learned how to play it. And I think that's entirely accurate.
Well, it's your fault. So there you go.
Perfect.
As Hal Sutton won the PGA against Jack Nicklaus with his course management skills, and he won a Players Championship just before he was going to turn 50 against Tiger Woods with his course management skills. So I'm thinking course management is pretty important.
Back to the idea of shaping driver one direction, though. I got to spend a lot of time with Hal a couple of years ago, and we were talking about that, and he's like, that's exactly what I did on 18 at Sawgrass. I just stood up there with my driver and hammered a cut. Why would I try to draw this thing? It could go anywhere. And it's like,
anywhere.
You knew exactly what you were doing. I mean,
he's pretty good at it. Well, we wish you the best of good fortune in the future, and hopefully we'll all run into each other and have a similar conversation again.
Thank you to you, and same to you.
Yep. Thanks, Scott.